Karen Parr, the CEO of BioMelbourne Network. I'm going to shamelessly borrow some notes that Warwick put together because they're really good. He's written, one of the things we learn early in business is the power of leverage. The Greek philosopher Archimedes said, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall change the world, I shall move the world." One of the biggest levers in business is some kind of association or alliance, and I think that's absolutely true. It's the foundation on which AMTIL itself is based, and it's also the basis of BioMelbourne Network and the work that they do. Last year, the Victorian Government launched the Australian Medtech Manufacturers Alliance to ensure Victoria remains at the forefront of medtech innovation. So what does this mean for medtech manufacturing? And how can we take advantage of it? I know lots of our companies are working in medtech manufacturing, both AMTIL's companies and BioMelbourne Network's companies as well. And we have a person who is leading this alliance, this very important alliance with us today. As the CEO of BioMelbourne Network, the network's responsible completely for the alliance, and AMTIL has joined it, but all of the hard stuff is going on within Karen's team. So I'd like to introduce you to Karen, and one of the reasons that I asked Warwick if I could do this introduction is because Karen and I are former colleagues, and I'm so thrilled to have her here today to present to you. I'll welcome Karen to the stage. No worries.
Excellent. Thank you, Lorraine, and to AMTIL as well for the opportunity today. Experts have forecast that the coming decade will bring more change than the previous 100 years combined. As we stand on the precipice of a time that will likely define the country's future, there is no doubt challenges ahead, but also an enormous opportunity for industry, for manufacturing, and for our community at large. And it's in this context that I'm delighted to be here speaking today as the CEO of BioMelbourne Network and as the lead for AMA, which is a group that is focused on supporting the growth of our local medtech manufacturers. So to begin with, I would like you to think about the last time that someone that you know received medical care. Think about the PPE that was worn by the healthcare workers, the bed that they lay on, the syringes, the monitors, the tubes, the images, the scanners and sensors, the surgical equipment. Think about the doctors waiting for results to define a diagnosis, give a prognosis, and initiate treatment. These processes are based almost entirely on medical technology. This too is true for our broader health system, which is heavily dependent on medical technology to deliver almost 2 million surgeries and 2 billion pathology tests that Australians need each year. And now guess how much of that critical technology was made in Australia or by an Australian company? The answer is less than 5%. That means as a country, almost all of our expenditure on medical products goes directly offshore. And to me, that's a tragedy. This is a high-value, knowledge-intensive industry. And so it's the upskilling of workers making these products. It's the knowledge and IP that's gained from clinical feedback. It's the opportunity for our communities to access technologies earlier at a reasonable prices. It's the opportunity to control our digital ecosystems and the machines in our operating rooms. It's the spillover benefits to our local economy in the form of jobs and socio-economic support. The missed opportunity to harness the brains of some of our brightest engineers, scientists, and entrepreneurs. All that potential vanishing on the horizon. The extreme import dependence has delivered upfront unit cost efficiency through concentration of the supply chain. However, it is a high-risk strategy that comes at enormous systemic cost to Victoria and Victorians and Australia and Australians. It limits our power to negotiate purchasing terms and leaves our medical system exposed to supply chain disruption. We currently manage these disruptions through stockpiling, and when that fails, by paying peak price to secure critical stock or subsidising production. This cost us during the pandemic, and it continues to cost us at each and every supply chain shock. Just this year, we provided a $20 million subsidy to a global multinational to ensure that we can reliably access IV fluids. A similar lack of long-term planning in our resources sector saw the government stepping in with $2.3 billion to keep our last two remaining refineries operating. We simply cannot afford this as a country, short nor long term. And at the same time, our local industry is hurting. As you'll all feel, the manufacturing headwinds can be strong. Like many of your own companies, the input costs have risen, utility prices are high, and the competition is fierce. As a country, we ranked 102 out of 145 in the Harvard Index of Economic Complexity, which is a measure of the sophistication of our exports. We have the lowest level of manufacturing self-sufficiency in the OECD. Now, if this was the Olympics, we would be outraged. 102 of 145. Yet, our medical manufacturers receive little support to undertake research, development, or commercialization, even though, as an industry, they're strong economic magnifiers, returning $2.75 for every dollar invested. Why? Well, perhaps because we don't recognize their importance in our economy, nor how important they are for the future of this country. In fact, how many in this audience can name an Australian medtech manufacturer? You don't count, Lorraine. Perhaps you know CSL, our Victorian biomanufacturer, and one of Australia's biggest companies, alongside the likes of Westpac and BHP. But what about our medtechs? Cochlear, ResMed, other major ASX-listed companies. Are you familiar with the story of SDI, one of our most successful local companies? With 4D Medical, Polynovo, Telix, Ego Pharmaceuticals, or our internationally recognised contract manufacturing sector players like Planet Innovation, Hydrix, and Outer Space. How many of us can tell the story of an Australian medtech heroes, of the Geelong company, Vorotech, a world leader in precision optics? We have successful companies here who have numerous contracts with international healthcare providers, and yet not a single contract on our own soil. Why do our companies face a warm welcome abroad, but barbed wire here at home? Because our buyers don't know that the companies exist? Because we value global brands over our homegrown talent? Because we ask, why buy local instead of why not buy local? So the conundrum is that our health services are overly dependent on imports and operating within a system that has a narrow view of value, whilst a local industry, the very same businesses that could supply these products, need local market contracts to de-risk capital growth and enter global markets. And this is precisely where the Australian Medtech Manufacturing Alliance, or AMA, seeks to move the dial. At AMA, our vision is for better health made here, where a strong, connected ecosystem paves the way for local companies to supply our patients and health services with wider, better product choices, leveraging, and this is important, the multi-billion-dollar investment in our Australian life sciences industry and some of the best and brightest minds in the country. At AMA, we're looking to capitalise on the opportunity to help build a robust, circular supply chain for health, and at the same time, supercharge the manufacturing sector to deliver economic growth and diversification. For patients, this means affordable and timely access to cutting-edge homegrown technologies. For health, it means delivering diversified and resilient supply chains, improved value for money, and better and fit-for-purpose products. And for industry, it means accelerated access to local health markets and the backing of a strong, unified group and voice advocating to break down major barriers to growth. It means supporting companies to innovate here, make here, and then sell here and globally. Emma seeks to achieve this vision by harnessing the power of partnerships to align and unite industry voice at state and national level. As Lorraine mentioned, we launched in October last year, and Emma is now a partnership of 8 passionate and leading Australian health and manufacturing industry bodies, led by BioMelbourne Network right here in Victoria.
Yeah.
We're all quite well aware of the challenges, and so this united advocacy group listed behind me is dedicated to advancing a solutions-focused voice on key opportunities faced by Australian SME medtech manufacturers. With seed funding from the Victorian Government's Department of Jobs, Skills, Industry and Regions, the Alliance builds on the groundwork laid by the Victorian Government's Australian Medtech Manufacturing Centre initiative. This sees Victoria as the pilot state for this important solutions-driven program, setting the foundation to drive a national agenda for medtech innovation and manufacturing. So who are we focused on? We're focused on the established and mature end of the medtech value chain. We're targeting SMEs that are in market, ready for market, or looking to scale up. Why? Because excellent organisations already provide support for startups and early stage companies. However, there's a gap for companies as they near that manufacturing and market entry. This gap is more pronounced for established companies, where they're often deemed too mature or financially stable to warrant grant support, but also too small or high risk for investment. And this target cohort is ideally positioned for growth. To have survived to this point, these companies must be high performers with a solid value proposition. They're often nearing a value inflection point that can deliver substantial benefit to the economy, but at the same time, they require a supporting hand as they traverse that risky landscape of manufacturing scale-up, market entry, and expansion. So you saw some logos of companies that have successfully navigated these transitions earlier in the presentation. Their success is demonstrative of the potential value to Australia and Australians if we get the support right. Because despite the challenges and barriers, Victoria and Australia is punching above its weight. In the health tech sector alone, we see Victoria's vibrant industry delivering $5.5 billion of sector value add, positioning the state and the country in the top of the global life sciences startup rankings. For those of you who are less familiar with our sector, it's made up of a connected and collaborative ecosystem of experienced advisors, infrastructure and bioinformatic platforms, research organisations and universities, clinical networks, investment managers, industry associations, and it's backed by the long-term funding. So our health technology manufacturers do not need to operate in isolation. But what does that actually look like in reality? Well, the importance of that ecosystem is particularly evident when you look at neuroprosthetics, which are those incredible medical devices that impact brain and nerve function, such as your cochlear ear implants. There are very few cities in the world to have commercialised one of these devices. A couple that have commercialised 2, but in Australia, we have commercialised 6, even beating Elon Musk and his Neuralink implant to regulatory approval. This is very much due to the concentration of experts in our field. Australia is fantastic at research. We're pretty good at development too, but we need support for our medical manufacturing. And this is why Emma is supporting the sector to mature further and, importantly, to retain that value onshore for longer. So Emma's agenda is ambitious, but we are fortunate to be building on a strong foundation of prior work, particularly here in Victoria. The Victorian Government's Department of Jobs, Skills, Industry and Regions has supported medtech manufacturing through their Australian Medtech Manufacturing Centre initiative, direct grant programs, investment, trade, and industry development specialists. There are a range of resources and support already available for industry in Victoria, including the Medtech Directory, which is a dedicated ICN Victoria with a dedicated IC and Victoria Medtech advisor. There's the Connected Health Commercialisation and Innovation Centre, or CHIC, co-working laboratories for prototyping, and the Victoria Medtech Skills and Devices Hub, which is dedicated to addressing gaps in skilled labour. We're very grateful to the State Government of Victoria for this continued support for industry growth, and we look forward to being able to expand this nationally. And is also in the fortunate position to capitalise on extensive industry consultations that have taken place in past years. What we've heard most clearly and consistently from industry to date is twofold. The first is that if we had more procurement opportunities, we would make more here. That's why we need to see that pull factor and move away from the push factor alone if we want to increase the share of locally made medtech in Australia's healthcare system. This is a complex area. However, we are very confident that by addressing procurement barriers at multiple points, as illustrated behind me, that we will be able to deliver a measurable impact on the uptake of local content. The second is that we need a cultural change, where we as a country recognise our existing manufacturers' excellence and the quality and range of products that they manufacture. Where our health services are always asked first, and where you all can rattle off the names of these manufacturers as easily as you do your AFL's team stats. We need a culture where we can back our innovations, a campaign that we refer to as Better Health Made Here. Based on these learnings to date, we are progressing in 3 areas, or in corporate speak, there's 3 pillars to our strategic plan. So the first is supporting our health services to leverage local industry. So there is an opportunity for industry to be the solution to health's problems. And so our first pillar focuses on helping these services leverage our local entrepreneurs and our industry's expertise to solve the most pressing challenges. We'll establish partnerships and networks across the health and industry, hosting joint roundtables, promoting local companies through a campaign and targeted trade shows, developing industry insights and supporting buyers to identify local suppliers. Healthcare is so busy and they don't have the time to find, or they don't know where to find local manufacturers, and we can help. We'll also work to move the mindset of buyers, ensuring that local companies are given recognition in procurement decisions and tender processes. This will support our SMEs to access opportunities and compete on an equal footing. We want to advocate with partners for system change. We want to see value for money considered within purchasing decisions, and value goes beyond the lowest cost. It includes factors such as supply chain resilience, storage, job creation, and the ability to drive faster innovation and iteration. These activities will concentrate on areas where local SMEs are uniquely positioned to address critical health challenges, showcasing the value of healthcare working in partnership with our local health tech industry. To help us drive the greatest impact for our companies, we are developing an industry action plan that identifies the high priority solutions to the key barriers faced by SME medtech manufacturers, with a focus on challenges in health procurement. This action plan is in an early draft format, and I'm really looking forward to sharing it with you in the upcoming months. Our second pillar focuses on building the capabilities of local SMEs as they traverse the late stage production and enter the local market. For new Australian medtech manufacturers who are often exporting to other prestigious and larger health markets, having a home market customer is a very important proof point. However, unlike other jurisdictions and sectors, like defence, there is no mechanism across the state or country that helps them sell into the Australian health system. It's hard to understand where to begin, and our SMEs don't have the resources that multinationals do. And so a key element of this plan is our flagship Medtech Capability Uplift program. It's actually launching later this week through our partners, and the pilot program will help SMEs bring their products into hospitals and health services across Victoria and other states. And our final pillar focuses on uniting and strengthening the AMA voice to advocate for change. As a newly formed partnership that includes all major Australian healthcare and manufacturing peak bodies, it will take all of us working together to see change happen. We'll be holding regular industry fora and directly engaging with local SMEs. We want to grow our support base and establish the Alliance as a recognised and trusted champion for industry. There is no doubt that this is an ambitious agenda. However, let's not forget that this vision is aligned with the existing policy landscape and backed by a depth of amazing talent and innovation thanks to the long-term investment of our life sciences research community and our advanced manufacturing capabilities. At the federal level, we have a Future Made in Australia policy, supported by $1.5 billion for manufacturing through the National Reconstruction Fund and $400 million from the Industry Growth Program. Similar initiatives exist at a state level. Here in Victoria, we have the Made in Victoria 2030 statement, backed by a $2 billion Breakthrough Victoria venture, and other states are investing too. These policies are supported by the strong ecosystem I spoke of earlier, a deep pool of research excellence, 3 globally recognised medical science clusters, expertise running over 1,000 clinical trials annually, and an ecosystem of diverse organisations employing more people than the mining sector nationally. We don't have a capability problem. We have a scaling and commercialisation problem. And if we can overcome this gap, then we are primed for success. A better future where our manufacturers are stronger and our hospitals know of and buy our local products. So if this resonates with you, I will be having a couple of QR codes on the next slide. Join AMA as an industry supporter or sign up for news. Share our Medtech manufacturing stories and help us raise awareness of the companies doing fantastic work so they can be as recognised as our AFL teams. Voice your support using the hashtag BetterHealthMadeHere. Participate in our program and consultations. Connect with ICN Victoria's Medtech advisor, Dr. Craig Naylan, and list your company on the Medtech directory as well. It is expanding. And join AMTIL if you have not already. So I'd like to finish with a request to you all. Time and time again, we have heard that the medtech industry is not big enough, that we can't raise capital, that we don't have the market or the manufacturing capability. As we heard this morning, that manufacturing died with the auto industry. Suspense as I change the page. As a result, we export ideas the way that we do our resources. We think them up and we ship them out, waiting for somebody else to tell us that these ideas are worthy pursuits. You don't need to look far for an example of companies that have been forced overshore. We've seen this with Bivocor's total artificial heart and with the Synchron Stentrode brain-computer interface. Both Australian technologies, both stellar innovations, and both developed in the US. This is not a story of a lucky nation. We need to stop looking at the past and change the narrative now, because we can and we do make extraordinary things here. Our future is dependent upon it. We have had a recent injection of billions in government funding that is backing our companies. We have private investors who would step in if they saw the value. We have advanced manufacturers who could pivot if they're given the opportunities. We have companies like PolyNovo. Headquartered just down the road in Port Melbourne, PolyNovo has developed NovoSorb, a revolutionary synthetic matrix used to heal burns and traumatic wounds. Available in 46 countries, NovoSorb has been delivered to over 62,000 patients to date, meaning that people who have 60, 70 or 80% burns are not just surviving, but they're surviving with excellent functional outcomes. With sales growth up 57% and a new manufacturing facility in Port Melbourne, PolyNovo is set for a high growth trajectory to redefine surgical care. And so I feel nothing but optimism if we learn to tell our success stories like that of PolyNovo and celebrate our failures as opportunities for growth. Then we will be able to realise the full potential of our industry and deliver tangible benefits to our health services. So my call to everybody in the room today is to help us further this mission. Listen for those success stories. Share them widely and proudly, and speak to your peers and your elected officials about the potential for Victoria and Australia. Good you.